Engagement matters. Here we are. Wow, we jumped all in at once here. There was no. All right, I should just jump in. I'm Brendon Lemon. We of course have Chris Cubba, my co-host, or I'm his co-host, whichever one you want. We're very excited to have you here today for a special installment, a unique installment, a different installment of Engagement Matters. Beyond the transaction, how to power loyalty in the trades. Normally we're B2C focused. Today we're talking a little B2B. And who are we talking with? Bethany Sanker. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Thanks.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah. It's if I listed my top 10 favorite things, being on camera is not one of them, but for you and for the topic and the greater good, I'm happy to be here, of course.
Well, thank you.
I'm already disappointed in Brendon's intro. You missed the Tim Taylor and Al Borland reference for co-hosts. I just, I don't know who's who, but given the subject matter, we should try again. Let's start over. Start the whole thing over.
All right, I should say, welcome to Engagement Matters. I'm Al Borland. This is, of course, Tim, the tool man, Cubba. And look, today, Bethany, we're so happy to have you. Bethany, for everyone in the audience, is Director of Client Services for Interrupt. Interrupt, interestingly, uniquely, is a strategic marketing agency with a focus on building materials and building material manufacture. You guys work with B2B trade clients, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, Interrupt is a really cool firm. I'm fairly new to the organization and have spent most of my career on the corporate side of things, but this is an opportunity to work with several different brands in an industry that I know very well and I care about, from windows to doors to insulation to siding, decking, all of it. And the company's been around, I think, about 17 years. It focuses primarily on brand strategy, marketing strategy, launches, but really we run the gamut. So full activation, media planning, and all the rest. But yeah, it's really tailored niche organization, and it's been cool so far since I've been here. Yep.
Oh. Awesome. Well, I have all of those things. It makes me feel wonderful. I've got doors, I've got windows. I definitely.
Most people do. Yes, most people do. That's why it's kind of cool. And for the context of this conversation, we should probably focus on residential remodeling. We have clients that do a lot of commercial work as well, but for this context, we can focus on the residential space and make it a little bit easier and more tailored.
Yeah. So all right, let's jump in then, because I've got a couple of questions and we always go long on time. Bethany, Brendon mentioned at the onset, a lot of the times when we're talking to professionals in the advertising and marketing space, it's B2C focused. I come from a real strong CPG background. So this is a little uncomfortable for me, and we're relying on you to bring all of the wisdom. First question I have is really, when you think about loyalty in your space or in the trades, what makes it different from maybe traditional consumer loyalty programs you might see when you're pushing the cart down the aisle at the grocery store or Delta Airlines? Like, how do you guys at your agency sort of think about loyalty in the trades, and how is it different?
It's different in many, many ways. I think there are a few that we could touch on. Number one is generally the channel that the majority of building products manufacturers use. So multi-step distribution channel, that's one. Number two, the target audience. Obviously, we're talking about targeting businesses and not targeting consumers. And then I'll say to a degree, it's frequency of purchase as well. Again, I don't want to kind of like mesh the consumer with the pro. But if you look at consumers who are looking to remodel their home or a portion of the house, how many times do you do that in a lifetime?
Yeah,
so
I hope only once. Yeah, we just finished it. I hope to never do it again.
Yes.
If you're my parents every summer. If you're my parents every summer.
Oh, that could be a whole different conversation then, maybe, or strategic approach for marketing. But I think importantly, for anybody that doesn't really know, you have multiple steps to the end user. So manufacturers typically sell through large distribution companies who sell to independent lumber yards, retailers, and the like, who sell to we'll call it in this context, again, sticking in residential, pro remodelers, contractors, who then sell to the final buyer, the homeowner. So incredibly different set of influential audiences in all of this. I would
you're
say
looking at you're looking at selling to to the pros who are then themselves turning around and doing a lot of the remodeling. That's got to be a highly educated, I imagine, target, right? They're technical skilled. They know what they're looking at. That's got to be a more difficult, I think, relationship to manage.
Yeah, well, and then there's a couple unique things. Of course, you're selling to a business, not a consumer. You're far removed from the end target. And again, for this context, we'll focus a little bit more on the contractor versus anybody else in the stage. But yes, you have businesses that have grown up in their trade. You have business owners, and then you have the installers of the product. So certainly there are decisions that are made at the owner level. And of course, like there's obvious things, like you've got to have a good product. You have to treat your customers well, et cetera. So all those, kind of given things. But then the installers and the people that work at the contracting company, I mean, they have to install it properly to avoid what they need to avoid, which would be callbacks, issues with the installation, warranty issues, and generally dissatisfied homeowners. So you have a multitude of things plus a relationship to kind of think about when you think about that loyalty.
Yeah. And so I know in one of our meetings prepping for this, you mentioned, you've been in the space, maybe you mentioned it in the setup. You've been in the space for years, and I'm curious, what have you seen maybe recently? We talked a little bit like pre-COVID, post-COVID, or even just in the last few years, the acceleration of digital, obviously everybody's favorite buzzword, but what have you seen, or how have you seen maybe, and I know I'm generalizing here, but I'll go back as far as 15 or 20 years ago when maybe rebates was the key and only tactic that a lot of these companies would implement to try and, keep people loyal. So in your time in the space, maybe how have you seen it evolve? What tools do you think brands are using today that they hadn't before? Or perhaps even at Interrupt, how are you guys advising clients to think about building loyalty differently? And maybe, where rebates still play a place in there?
Yeah, there's definitely still a place. If I were to go back and think and look back at what evolution there has been as far as loyalty and loyalty programs, I guess I would start and kind of go backwards a little bit and think about the market of contractors and perhaps even fewer manufacturers in any given category in the space. But yes, rebates have been used over the years, and they're still used in some sort of tier structure across many of the manufacturers that implement these programs all over the place. There's a lot of information out there that suggests it's an interest driver. It may not be the actual main reason that somebody sticks around or the relationship maintains or the share of wallet among that contractor grows. But I'd say early on, yes, like a rebate structure is kind of a simplistic form and tactic used to enable and drive loyalty. But over time, you've seen companies spend a little bit more, invest more in the contractor because it is such an influence on the homeowner, even though it is downstream and kind of far removed from a data and a purchase standpoint. But over time, you've seen several manufacturers across categories build benefits programs that fall into certain categorizations, I'll say. So there's like business growth leads, which kind of ties to business growth, marketing, some level of events, of course, the rebates we discussed, and all of that, I would say, seems to be fairly common ground. No matter, we work with windows companies, siding, everybody typically offers something like join the program, get training, which I forgot to mention, get training in order to reap any kind of warranty reward or whatnot. That training can be in the field, that could be fly people in, whatever that looks like. We'll give you access to a portal of some sorts where you can access marketing goods, materials, lead information to some degree. And then as you spend, you accrue points, and that can either be dollars off or it's maybe more dollars towards some of the marketing materials and all of that. So I'd say again, all of those typically are pretty common across the groups. I would say some companies spend a little bit more generating leads that they can provide to the contractors so they can help grow their business. Some organizations, whether the organization might not be large enough and not quite ready to spend on the consumer to drive the demand, or maybe it's a larger company that is it has like a new business unit or whatever. They might not be promising something like leads to their pros, but all of them offer some of that. I would say maybe aside from net new benefits, the optimization and increased investment has been more so in improving some of those things in the categories. Think about mobile friendly portals, for example. Really, and I know this is the hard thing, and we could talk about it, but easy to upload paperwork of any sort, whether it's the invoices or other data. The offer of discounting partner programs, partner offerings. So if you join the program of a manufacturer, perhaps you would get a discount on a financing partner, a visualization tool that homeowners would need, and all of that to really just enable, again, smart projects, quick selling, high conversions, and
So this was going to be sort of my next question on this, which is you've seen and have informed and helped, I think, a lot of brands develop loyalty in this space. What do you notice that a very successful program has versus sort of a run-of-the-mill program for developing loyalty in the trades?
Yeah. I think the best programs invest in the customers. I mean, it sounds obvious. You have to have a customer strategy, but that doesn't mean everybody really spends the time and the money to really understand the loyalists versus some of the smaller contractors who may not have the volume potential, but also might be very either influential in their market but I really think it's an investment in the customer, understanding what various segments need, and designing a program that might work for multiple groups, not just a one size fits all program. And there's so many ways you could matrix this out. There are firms where they grew out of installation skill sets. So you have contractors that were really good installers, but maybe didn't go to business school, right? So they might need certain sets of benefits. You have business owners who did go to business school and they run their organization a certain way. Some that are large enough to have administrative people and resources and even marketing. So they might need something very different from the manufacturer. So promising leads or whatever the case might be, it might not be universal. So I think the companies that do that really do well. And then I think understanding that it's expensive, the investment in some of the more sophisticated digital and mobile tools, I think is where it's at. We will also get to this, but portal, everybody has a portal, that's table stakes, but is the portal effective at actually helping a contractor understand where they're at in the program, how much more they have to go to achieve something, all of their leads, the information, it has to kind of be seamless and work. And those that have invested there, I think are doing great.
Yeah. And I'll jump in there, Bethany, because I think you've sort of circled around this idea. You talked a bit about sort of data collection previously. We recently ran a study at Snipp, right? And it said 45% of B2B brands aren't capturing any SKU level purchase data from their audiences, right? Now, this can be in the context of overall marketing, obviously rebate programs, long-term loyalty. So I'm curious or fascinated if you have any insights on like what role, to your point about portals being table stakes, but are there any brands that are using, say, zero or first party data really well, maybe designing better engagement strategies from that information, taking the data that they're getting from invoices or receipts to maybe complement partnerships with other companies or product lines that they might have separate and apart from the specific, perhaps, program they're running?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I keep saying it's difficult. It's funny because the purchase happens downstream. So you have these relationships. Once those transactions are complete, what's in it for the homeowner and the dealer to really report back, do more paperwork, do a bunch of administration? So I'll say one thing. Yes, there is definitely an attempt by some of the large organizations who just invested there. You can get data in a couple of ways. It's going to be kind of tricky and messy, just given, again, the kind of roles that everybody plays in the channel. But you could think about going all the way to the homeowner. The homeowner has the warranty. There could be incentives put in place, again, passed through the contractor to the homeowner that would incentivize somebody to upload a warranty or provide some information back. And there could be some benefit for them to do that. But you have to, homeowners have to be aware of that. They have to care about it, and they have to take an action. But certainly that would be ideal as it relates to getting end user data, feedback, and a good understanding of who's actually buying your products. The other couple of pieces are certainly incentives in the program that help with the exchange of their, we're asking for them to provide us with things like, okay, where did you purchase? Can you give us some invoices? Tell us what projects are, happened? What was your close rate? All of those kind of things. If they're going to be giving us something like that, there has to be clear benefit and, back. So that exchange of kind of productivity, ease of use, great partnership has to be worth it for them to do the extra work and pass that information back at some level of regularity. And then maybe if you really go upstream, looking at lumber yards and some of the other really significant partners in this whole process, they're selling to contractors, right? Yeah. So there's kind of more aggregate data there that could be used. So I haven't, Interrupt, we're working with companies that are a little bit earlier in their development of programming and journeys and things like that. I do think it can be tough because it is quite the investment on like the data side and the education side to contractors. And so all of that has to kind of work, and the foundations have to be really strong so that when the data does come in, you've got a plan for it, you can action it, and then there will be a really strong data-backed case for maintaining the spend.
I mean, I'll support that just with an anecdotal piece about our own, remodel we did here. We were replacing or adding a new HVAC system, and so we went through the Energized Connecticut rebate portal to find an installer who was certified to essentially do the work to then get the rebate back. I went out and did the research to find what, worked with him and said, hey, let's go maximize the number of dollars we can get. But the actual effort, so again, and the guy was great, awesome job. But the actual effort of submitting the invoices, both on his side as the installer and my side as the ultimate end user, it almost seemed like there was more effort in completing that process, for a couple $1,000s than there was in the entire work he had to do to actually install the system. And it was surprising to me. And again, maybe I'm spoiled, having been at Snipp now for a few years, and, we've got a really just mature product and it works well, and the consumer ease of use is friendly. And a lot of the technology we have in sort of the invoice recognition system itself is so easy. Like it was almost I don't want to say that the company we were working with was obviously supportive of helping us reduce our cost. But you could almost tell there was a little bit of we can do that, but I know this is going to be painful and I really don't want to. And if I could convince you to hire me without it, I would.
What could be so valuable to the bulk of the contractors, let's say, in the program, that exchange makes it worth it now?
Yes. And that was the point I was missing, which I was getting to in a very long-winded fashion, was there was no incentive for him to care, right? Yes, he wants the business. Yes, I, as a consumer, get the money back. It lowers my overall cost. I can actually afford to go with him, who was a little more than somebody else who wasn't participating in that program. But I was sitting here thinking, I hope this guy's getting money too. And it wasn't the case. And so I bring it back to this conversation and go, I think if you're in this space and you're trying to incentivize these guys that are just, trying to get work done and on to the next project and, make recommendations because they believe in the brand, whether it's Carrier or Bosch or whatever. I just feel like you've got to give them something to care to. So
yeah, there's a couple things with that. One thing I don't want to leave off the table, you said brand. I think that's critical. Having a really, really strong brand as a manufacturer really helps.
Yeah.
Obviously, some have invested very heavily in consumer demand gen and branding, and that is important. It may not like help the contractors want to upload invoices all day long and all of that kind of stuff, but it is a contributing factor. And I will say, just sort of on the side, pros want to associate with credible brands that homeowners care about and like. Yeah. So certainly the investment on the homeowner side is huge. It presents to the contractor that the company cares about investing in the market, one, but maybe more importantly and secondarily, that the company is investing and making the contractor's job easier, right? So if homeowners know what the brand, if the value of the brand is high in the homeowner's mind, especially in a premium space, they're going to have an easier time selling that through, converting, and maybe could go do this a bit faster. So again, I just want to touch on the brand piece. I do think that is huge. But yes, going back to the exchange of effort, having somebody do something where they may not have capacity, time, resources, but it's being so critical to the manufacturer, given how much many companies invest in this. It's just such a unique thing. Now, the other piece to this, it kind of tied to the data component, is leads. A lot of companies spend a lot of money generating homeowner leads. They capture, they offer locators on the website, and contractors that have a good position on there get more exposure. So they have that. And then there's just direct. Homeowner comes in. Yes, I need a contractor. I want a certified or program contractor from that manufacturer. And there's some algorithm, and that the lead information is passed over to the pros. It's amazing. You get a lot of feedback. Sometimes the leads are ready, they're ready to buy. Sometimes they're not. So you get a massive range of feedback from lead quality to, I care about somebody being ready to go right now, versus I don't, just give me all the leads, I'll work them. And if I sell them in 7 months, then that's fine too. So you get a range of feedback on there, and just kind of tying this together at the end. It's a difficult conversation to have with pros, but we want, as a manufacturer, you'd want to pair them with homeowners who are really ready to buy, in market, and capable of doing the purchase and whatnot. So the more feedback that comes back, the more effective the marketing can be up front, and ultimately better result. But yeah, it's kind of a challenge overall.
Well, I think we've got some questions, Brendon. You want to go live to the interwebs, or you want to?
We've got some LinkedIn questions that we wanted to toss at you, Bethany. I would love to keep talking about the first party and zero party data, how important that is to brands. But here at Engagement Matters, we're all about engagement. We've got some engagement. So first question, Bethany, you mentioned brand loyalty is often diluted and marketers must influence without direct access to the final buyer. A very, very difficult challenge, I imagine. Do you have examples of what has worked for marketers?
Yeah, let me absorb the question. Brand loyalty is often diluted. Marketers must influence without directors to define.
Yeah, this is an SAT question. Yes. Sent in here.
Yeah. Yes, I have plenty of examples. I guess the one other key point I would make that is very, very critical in this world is the role of distributors and what we'll call dealers. Lumberyards is the layer that's between distribution and the pros. There's certainly there is a component there that can be hugely helpful. So number one, the contractors are going to buy, they shop. They're going to certain locations to get all the products that they need. So making sure that we're incorporating our dealer partners into the conversation is critical. Those individuals need to understand the program, see value in it. Perhaps, we can talk about incentives on the dealer side as well, but there's a relationship there, and there are usually several reps that need to be educated, trained, and supported through all of this as well. Reason being, contractors I think I read somewhere that something like, don't quote me, but maybe around 40% or something like that of tradespeople are not even aware of all of the programs or something like that, right? So if you're not marketing directly to these companies, then you have to find out the other avenues for driving awareness. And so through the channel is one of them. And yes, I think the other components and the success that we've seen in a lot of these great programs have been consistency and branding, of course, a really strong position, and really just strong consistency in communications through the channel so that everybody is really speaking the same language. Yeah. And no matter if a homeowner, the end user, if they visit a retailer, they visit a dealer, they talk to a contractor, they're getting the same message. Similar to what would happen if you spent a bunch of months on
the number of people who are involved. Sorry, Chris, I just want to say the number of people who are more involved. It seems like the bigger challenge would be having to be consistent overall in that message with everyone, because you're not just going at a final buyer, you're going to all of these people who are in the equation.
Yeah,
that's right. In that same Snipp report we published recently, I want to say it was something like 60% of trade professionals participate in, I think, 2 or more loyalty programs, but some 28% or some number, very small, are active, right? And I just think it speaks to the maybe like, what are you doing to re-engage or keep them engaged, perhaps even between purchase-based opportunities, which is a great segue into another question I think we got from Kevin on LinkedIn. Brendon, I don't know if you want to flash that up, but
yeah, if you guys want to
best
toss
practices.
That up. Here we go. Kevin Anke, a great fan of the show, Kevin Anke, asks, best practice to track purchase and what is a good mix between activity-based and purchase-based, excuse me. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, I guess they're the business tracking metrics, right? So a lot of companies would look at what products are being sold to distributors and through to the dealers. Those are first layers of visibility to tracking purchase and understanding volume and turns and velocity and like all of that kind of information. And that's the bulk of it as far as kind of core. When you start to move downstream, again, you kind of look at leading indicators, lagging indicators, and to the extent possible, like we discussed, getting the true information back very, very, as close as we can to the downstream piece. As far as leading indicators and some of the activity-based metrics, I think that's a really good question. I mentioned that most people have portals. Certainly, we look at engagement within the portal. We look at who's downloading this or ordering that. What are the order trends for samples and tools? And what colors are driving a lot of those? And we say purchases, it's marketing materials and things that the pros might need. That can lend some visibility to what might happen in the future. It helps you understand, again, who's engaging with the program and are these tools we put in place, are they useful? Now, there are many pros that are loyal and they spend a lot of money with manufacturers that they don't want to mess with any of that kind of stuff. It's really hard, and you have really just kind of anecdotal feedback and things like participation in events and feedback and just general good old relationships with sales, marketing, product, and executive teams. So great answer. I would add completely selfishly, when I think about best practices to track purchase, Bethany, the right answer was Snipp Check's proprietary receipt scanning solution that helps brands make sense of the data coming in. I think that's the I mean that having that is a true amazing capability if the company is willing to invest in it. I stocked Snipp back in the day because I needed a technology that would absorb and take data off of receipts and present it in a way that we could understand it, because we just didn't have the resources to ingest all of this information if we even had it. So pulling that out, understanding the trends, the attachment, where people are buying, all of that, it really helps segment. And then,
you really do learn a lot about that customer and what else they're doing, which we said earlier. And then again, one pragmatic thing, I know we're over on time, but just to the second part of the question about the good mix between activity-based and purchase-based, I always say, I don't I mean, obviously you can give somebody a very quick reward in exchange for maybe registering, answering questions, surveys, polls, telling you more about them. And I think it's a smart tactic to just start the engagement process. I think along the way, you should breadcrumb additional ways in which they can see the rewards that exist outside of purchase. I think as a general loyalty philosophy, it's like if you're always asking for something before you're giving something in return, it doesn't feel very sort of mutual.
No,
But
there should
on the
be
same
relationship.
note,
Yeah. The communications are huge. There's gamification. There's reiterating what's happening. It's giving the pros an idea of what marketing you're going to put into the market. Just keeping everybody involved so they feel like.
But on the same note, and this is on the same note, like the program has to be self-funding most of the time, right? You need to ensure that whatever money you're giving back, it's obviously coming out of your margin. We want to ensure that, with these programs are built in a way that they can scale and they're sustainable. And yes,
and that it will bring incremental value and financial outcomes to the organization. Certainly it could be a brand investment where we know we're spending some money and we're getting a lot of people that would buy the product no matter what. But, if you really want to put the details in before doing the work, certainly that's where customer strategy, data strategy, and then your channel.
Yeah, which is what I know your agency does so well day in and day out, is just helps
it's really cool.
Brands figure that out.
Yep.
Well, I know this was awesome. Brendon, I don't know if you want to close us out. I know we're over our allotted time. People are yelling at us. Our producers are angry. We're
it flew by. We knew it would fly by. And once again, Snipp is the answer to everybody's problems.
Everything all the time. Doesn't matter.
I don't know why. You know what I mean? We're 1 for 1 on every episode.
That's amazing. Well, building products is awesome. I'm glad you guys are giving some attention to B2B. We could probably talk for 3 more hours, but it's really cool.
Well, we'll have to have you back. It was a good time. We loved the engagement. Bethany, thank you so much for taking the time. And Chris and I appreciate having you. And until then, engagement always matters, and we will see you on the next Engagement Matters. Take it easy, everybody.
Sounds good. Bye. Thank you.